Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. First, I'd like to welcome you and thank you all for joining us this morning. I'd like to give you an overview of where the sector-specific opportunities still lie in terms of engagement for American companies in the UAE. I'm going to give you a lot of information, and a lot of it is very general, but that's when it comes to you to figure out where you and your company might fit. And I'll run through the presentation, and then at the end, there'll be time for you to ask any questions. So Channels is a multinational team of analysts and business development specialists. Multinational in the fact, just like UAE, Americans, Canadians, South Africans, we've got a couple Pakistanis, a Kenyan, an Indian. So this kind of represents the mix of nationalities in UAE. My name is Ann Joffrey, and I'm an American who's lived in UAE for 27 years. I started my first company here when I was 23 years old. I'm an entrepreneur. I have 3 partners and 5.5 companies. And people always ask me about the half, and that's because we always seem to be incubating one new company on the back burner. In fact, right now we just registered a new company in California. I fell into this job quite naturally. I was the president of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce chapter in Dubai, and it was at a peak time in Dubai. I found myself giving so much free advice that my partners said to me, either learn how to commercialize all this advice that you're giving or just come back to the office. And that's where Channels was born. We started in 2009, and initially we worked with individual companies doing their business development for them in UAE and the rest of the Middle East. From that base, we evolved into working with state trade groups. And in this work, we work across every sector imaginable, from security and defense to aerospace to scented candles. So we do a little bit with everything. We host trade missions and business delegations, and we do a lot of reporting for companies in the U.S. who are looking for market intelligence. They may be wanting to find a distributor. They may want due diligence. We get a lot of work that has to do with internet inquiries that they get from our region, where the company wants to verify if it's a legitimate lead or not. We do company setup, and we also do competitive analysis. We recently signed a memorandum of understanding as a strategic partner with the U.S. Department of Commerce and their International Trade Administration. And what this means to us is that we collaborate and cross-promote each other's activities. Our company philosophy has always been that working together, we're able to help more U.S. companies, primarily small and medium-sized companies, find export opportunities. And I believe that there's enough work for everyone and that we're stronger and more robust working together. And we have a very good relationship with the foreign commercial service offices in the U.S. embassies and consulates across the region. These are some of the organizations that we work with in terms of our state level trade representation. We are the Arab Gulf Trade Office for the Commonwealth of Virginia and Pennsylvania and the states of Maryland, Colorado, and Wisconsin. We also work on a project basis, hosting trade missions and delegations at trade shows and so forth with Michigan, Washington, Oregon. You can see all of their logos here. So we work across the United States, actually. We work with different trade organizations like the Eastern Trade Council and the Council of Great Lakes Governors. Before I dive into kind of the meat of the presentation, I just wanted to review a few acronyms that you may or may not be familiar with. The Gulf Cooperation Council so you'll commonly hear me talk about, or other people talk about, the GCC, and that includes the countries of UAE, Oman, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Kuwait. The GCC countries have much in common, more so than the rest of the Middle East. You'll find a lot of oil wealth. There's a common customs code. Their currencies are all pegged to the US dollar, with the exception of Kuwait. And they're all principalities, like sheikdoms, but they do have some form of national council equivalent to what to like U.S. Congress. So there's representational government as well that runs side by side. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, UAE, the United Arab Emirates, is made up of 7 emirates. Most common probably that you've heard of is Dubai as well as Abu Dhabi. The capital is in Abu Dhabi. It's the seat of the federal government, and you'll find a concentration of oil and gas, aerospace, and security and defense companies there, whereas Dubai is much more industry diverse. So just a quick review of the agenda. I'm going to talk a little bit about the effects of the oil prices dropping significantly, how UAE's economy has responded. We'll talk about the areas of strategic investment that continue despite the oil prices being so low, and opportunities. And then finally, we'll talk about how to engage in the region. So a quick review of the oil situation. Prices have dropped 75% in the past 18 months. And the strange thing is that the market is not adjusting as we would expect it to, just based on normal economics. There should be natural adjustments, but Saudi is still pumping high. They are the number 1 OPEC producer, and they refuse to stop pumping. Iran is pumping with the lifting of U.S. sanctions. The U.S. is pumping and very proud of itself as energy efficient, and gas prices below $2. Russia and Iraq are pumping strong. So it's become a very unpredictable market in terms of oil prices. They're not expected to hedge up until 2017, and who knows if that will even happen because the market is acting so unusual right now. Countries like UAE with oil revenue as a significant part of their GDP are feeling more than just a pinch. So in doing research about the oil crisis that's going on right now, I found this very interesting graphic about the economic tipping point in these countries that have to do with the cost of a barrel of oil. So here, this graphic was made when the current price was at $45. A couple of days ago when I checked, it was sitting lower than that at $29. So if you look at the break-even price for UAE at $73 per barrel, and we actually have been below that price since October 2014. So this downward trend of oil prices is nothing new. So you consider that if the break-even point on their economy is $73 per barrel, and we've been under that price since October 2014, this is not a new phenomenon, even though it's getting so much media attention right now because of the extremely low prices. It's not something that's happened overnight. I'm going to give you just a minute to read this statement. So this is an excerpt from the Abu Dhabi Vision 2030 report. It's their economic vision, which was drafted in November 2008. So consider that date. November 2008, the global economy was pitching into one of the most dramatic downturns that most of us have seen in our lifetimes. But at the same time, oil prices were at an all-time high of $144 per barrel. So during the economic downturn, Abu Dhabi, UAE were virtually unscathed because of its oil and cash reserves. The reason why I bring this to your attention is even though Abu Dhabi and UAE were not really affected, Dubai was, but not so much Abu Dhabi, is because this economic plan was already drafted to really stress the need to diversify away from oil dependence. When prices were at 144, they were already thinking about diversification. So they were aware of the risk of being too dependent on factors beyond their control, like fluctuating oil prices. Diversification of its economy away from this dependence on oil revenue is basically the cornerstone of this report. You can go online and read the report. It's about 147 pages, and we'll provide you with links to these reports if you would like. But they've been focused on diversification since 2008, so this is nothing new. I wanted to stop right now and talk a little bit about the relationship between the Emirates. Up until the economic crisis, global crisis, really UAE, all of the Emirates in the UAE operated quite independently. There was, within each of the Emirates, they have a king and their own government. So it's kind of like states versus federal government, but they did work quite independently. It was only during the economic crisis when Dubai really got themselves into a fix because they were overextended in the property development market, and Abu Dhabi actually lended a hand to their brother Emirate in a financial way. And then all of a sudden we started hearing more and more about the United Arab Emirates. So really in terms of government spending and cooperation throughout the UAE, this is it's a new phenomenon. This in the last 7 years is the first time we're really seeing them try to operate as a single country. And they're still kind of learning how to keep the organizations working together from the federal level and incorporating the state or emirate level governments. So these are the 3 documents which are key to understanding where the opportunity gaps are still existing for American companies and your products and services. There's the UAE Vision 2021, which is over the whole United Arab Emirates. Then there's Dubai Plan 2021, which you'll see a lot of parallels between these reports. Excuse me. And then the Abu Dhabi Economic Vision 2030. The reason it's 2030 is because they've decided that their goal will be to have so much economic diversification by that year. These are lengthy documents and they have multi-level plans in them, but they are very interesting to read. If you consider each, you can see clearly where the opportunity gaps are. The major point that you'll find in all of these reports, though, is that much of the success of these plans lies in public-private partnerships. And this is where American companies would be best to approach this market. They are well aware that they cannot do it alone and that they need to reach capacity of the goals that they've set for themselves. They really need to align themselves with private industry. So in terms of the areas where they're still investing, despite their budget tightening, are in these areas. We'll run through each one of these briefly and give you a general overview. It'll create a good base upon which to start building your own understanding. That said, my company and my team and I are here to assist you as you explore these market opportunities through projects, market assessments, partner searches, whatever you may need to help you evaluate the market and what opportunities there may be for your company. This webinar is basically a crash course in the multiple industries, but we can assist you in a deeper dive in any one of them. So let's look at healthcare first. So it's always good to arm yourself with information. So top healthcare opportunities you're going to see in lifestyle diseases. We have the greatest percentage of diabetes per capita in the world in the UAE. There still is heavy smoking, so that kind of health kick has not really translated into our market yet. They have a sedentary lifestyle, and childhood obesity is rampant. So those are areas of lifestyle diseases where the government is focusing their budgets. They are also looking to significantly upgrade their abilities in the area of cancer treatment. They've begun to focus on prevention, and that's where wellness comes in. We are seeing wellness clinics popping up all over. Because of the increasing population, they need more hospital beds. So they're very much so targeting public-private collaboration in this area. And that's not just UAE, that's across Saudi Arabia and the other GCC countries as well. Hospitals, hospitals, hospitals. So with hospitals comes everything else that goes into a hospital. The focusing quite a bit on anything high tech. So if there are smart initiatives like e-health and telemedicine, if your company works in that field, there are great opportunities for you there. There's existing collaborations already in UAE with Cleveland Clinic and Johns Hopkins. So just in general, knowledge that you should have is that it is a national healthcare system. So the nationals have free healthcare, and the expat population has access to that health system at a you have to pay, but it's very reasonable. The Ministry of Health sits at the top, and there's a Dubai Health Authority and an Abu Dhabi Health Authority, and there's a lot of crossover. But basically, the ministry is the policy-making arm, and then implementation and strategy is done at the emirate level. Traditionally, wealthy nationals have always traveled abroad for their treatment. So you'll find that they come to the US, they go to Germany, a lot of them go to Thailand to get their medical treatment. The UAE government is trying to counter that phenomenon by increasing their healthcare capabilities in country. And another thing that they're pushing hard on, especially in Dubai, is to create a hub for medical tourism, attracting like the pan-Middle Eastern countries to come there. Another thing is mandatory health insurance has opened up a broad new category of opportunity. So education is another area that is very much in focus right now. They realize that to achieve their goals in raising a knowledge-based economy and their national workforce to a level to achieve the goals that they want to achieve, that education is primary. You will find, again, similar to healthcare, at the top is the Ministry of Education, and then there's an Abu Dhabi Education Council and a Dubai Education Council, and there are a lot of overlap between those. But they are moving to a more centralized policy. They're very much putting emphasis on education reform and modernization. So whereas it used to be the educational system that you would see in UAE was very much based on the British system, which is kind of a rote memorization and kind of just pitching that information back. Now they're moving much more to a US style education system that has to do with collaboration and integration of technology. So that opens up a lot of opportunity for US education companies. They're very big on standards evaluation of both the public and private school systems, and they are very transparent about it. So if you're a private if you're a private school in UAE, you have a group that comes out from the Education Council and goes through an evaluation process and rates your school, and then those ratings are put up online so that parents can look at what your scores are. So this is very new in terms of the level of transparency in a market that traditionally is not that way. There is a fair amount of investment being made in e-learning from primary to higher education, as well as professional development. While we tell our clients in general that Arabic is not really a requirement, this is one area where it will be a definite advantage if American companies are able to put up a bilingual system, both Arabic and English. Bear in mind something that people don't really recognize if you're not familiar with the UAE is that 90% of the population in UAE is an expat population. So it depends on which statistic you look at. People will tell you that the nationals are from 9 to 14% of the population. So Arabic really is never a problem if you don't speak the language, because with all those different nationalities, the common language for all of us is English. They are investing heavily in elevating the standards of their secondary education. But in addition to that, they're also looking at the needs to boost their technical and vocational options. It used to be in the Middle East, in UAE, that parents only would accept that their children would be doctors, lawyers, or businessmen. But now they've become much more open to the fact that they need a little bit of everything to balance out this country, and that there are all kinds of options. And for the first time, we are seeing a push in developing special education tools in schools and services. And this is a new trend. I'm not really going to go into why special education is something new here, because that is a whole nother story, but there is a big push to provide these services. And again, public-private partnerships are the name of the game. So the next area I wanted to talk about is security and defense. So UAE's diversification and UAE's claim to being a safe haven in a region that actually is becoming much more, I don't know how I should put this. So it's becoming much more of a hot spot. So as the problems are popping up in Yemen on the border with Saudi Arabia, as we're seeing ISIL marching across Iraq into Syria, it's getting more of a reputation as being a challenging area. So UAE is very much into maintaining its reputation as a safe haven for commercial operations. Physical security is a top priority, and they know this, so that business as usual must be guaranteed. It might be interesting to note that there are 50,000 American residents in UAE right now and 1,000 US companies in the country, and that's just the Americans. UAE is a long-standing strategic security ally of the US in the Gulf and in the broader Middle East. We have had a formal defense cooperation agreement in place with UAE since 1994, and there are multiple foreign military sales programs with the U.S. Those of you who might not have a security and defense background might not recognize what FMS is, but they are high-level agreements between our government and their government that allows the U.S. to sell security and defense technology. So the UAE government has Patriot, Hawk, Apache, Black Hawks, F-16s. So the fact that there is this close relationship on the security and defense side is a very good thing for small to medium-sized companies in the U.S. Good to consider the MRO and supply chain opportunities. So if you consider that Raytheon, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, all of these companies have big offices and operations on the ground in UAE and joint ventures with the UAE military, you will start to see where your products or services fit in terms of how you are already within the MRO or supply chain of these big American companies. UAE actually is the only Arab nation to have participated in 6 of the U.S. coalition actions from Afghanistan to Libya and up into Europe. Because of the strong relationship, tech interoperability between the two countries is a priority. So there again, because the that's a big word, interoperability is a must. That's where there's a big gap for opportunity with the U.S. security and defense companies. It means your products and services have an advantage. It's important to know the agencies responsible for your area of security or defense, if it's a federal agency or an emirate level issue, or if it's both, or if it requires coordination. We're just working with an American company now. We've worked with another American company before that, where you get general headquarters and ministries and other federal authorities and other emirate level authorities all working together, and it makes it even more challenging to figure out if you have the right audience or not. But that's what we're on the ground to help you with if you find yourself in that situation. Areas of focus: cybersecurity, homeland and border security, with the Nuclear Power 123 agreement and the nuclear energy plants being built right now. Critical infrastructure security is another area that there presents opportunities. So alternative energy. So the national goal is to generate 7% of our energy from renewables by the year 2020. And they're committed to the development and use of alternative energy, not just for UAE, but they are investing heavily to help other developing countries source alternative energy for their own needs. They recognize their international stewardship responsibility in terms of energy. One of the biggest projects in UAE is Masdar, which is a huge campus, a sustainable city, and it's a comprehensive investment in future energy solutions and clean technology. You'll find design and research laboratories there. You'll find GE, Siemens, Mitsubishi have offices there in collaboration with Masdar. MIT has a project running there with Masdar on research and development. It's probably the most ambitious sustainability program ever launched by a government. They invested $15 billion in projects targeting solar, wind, and hydrogen, carbon reduction management, sustainable development, etc. So this is really an area where they're focusing a lot of their money, their budget, to lift themselves up as an international example of alternative energy producers and promoters. You'll see Masdar is in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai. You'll find that there are other projects going on. Shams Dubai is a program through DEWA, which is the Dubai Electricity and Water Authority, which has to do with encouraging people to install solar panels, both commercial and residential. And this is kind of where they're pushed to have everything as a smart city initiative. So if you go on the DEWA website, you will find places where you can actually register as an equipment supplier. So that if this is your area, you probably should be looking at the DEWA website and their counterpart in Abu Dhabi for opportunities where you can get involved and kind of understand which way they're headed. So I bet you guys are surprised to see that I have manufacturing up here. If you would have asked those of us who've been in UAE for a long time about manufacturing, you would get the response from me as well that we don't manufacture anything. It's a solid import market. But that's because comparatively, manufacturing is insignificant when you consider its percentage as part of the GDP. But it is an area identified for development by the country, and when they decide they want something, they go after it full force. So currently, manufacturing is sitting at 11% of GDP. And the goal is to increase it to 25% by 2025. So just as a general reference point, I was curious too to see what the international averages are as a percentage of GDP. China is 36% of their GDP is from manufacturing. US is at 13%. And Germany is 23% based on, these are based on 2014 figures from the World Bank. So you'll see that the areas of focus where they're trying to build manufacturing in aerospace and components, it's interesting. So Jebel Ali Free Zone, which is the free zone just outside of Dubai, 20% of their space is used for manufacturing, light engineering, and final stage assembly, basically. They have created industrial zones to focus on manufacturing. So Dubai Industrial City has 6 industrial sectors, including machinery, mechanical equipment, transport equipment and parts, base metals, chemicals, food and beverage, and mineral products. And then Abu Dhabi has Kizad Industrial Zone, which is also organized in clusters such as aluminum and steel. They're encouraging other suppliers and service providers in the value chain to open operations within the zone so that everything is like within the same area in terms of the supply chain and supporting each other. One of the big success stories in UAE in terms of manufacturing is Strata, and Strata is a joint venture between Lockheed Martin and Mubadala, which is the Abu Dhabi government. And so they've created a manufacturing operation there of aerospace components. So if you tour Strata, you will see Emiratis standing on the production line shoulder to shoulder, really manufacturing. So that is something that they're very proud of. And you'll find programs and incentives and special zones and investment funds that are there mainly to promote manufacturing. Particularly, you'll find in defense and aerospace, because they took their offset program and rebranded it, and that's all it is basically there to do, to help encourage manufacturing. So one other segment that they're very much promoting is smart city initiatives. And I don't know if you know what a smart city is. I had to really wrap my mind around that. When people use terms like the Internet of Things or smart city initiatives, it's like, okay, what do you really mean? So basically, UAE has the highest per capita cell phone penetration rate in the world. It's at 193%. So that basically means that every single person has almost two smartphones. There's 100 initiatives ongoing. 100 government services have gone smart, which means they provide e-services. If you go to any of the UAE government websites, you will find these different e-portals and e-services. And the reason that they're trying to do this is because they believe it improves the quality of life. And again, there's all kinds of opportunities for public-private partnership, because they have set quite an aggressive phased development plan. And the only way that they're going to be able to achieve these goals is by aligning themselves in partnership with private industry. But we're starting to find apps for everything these days. Okay, so this SMEs, tech innovation and entrepreneurship, this is not a specific industry, of course, but they have, in their economic plans, have put great focus on fostering the growth of SMEs as an important element in UAE's economic diversification. They believe that diversifying the enterprise base away from their core larger industries, such as aerospace and oil and gas, will again minimize their risk of putting all of their eggs into one basket. So they're fragmenting the risk and the potential adverse effects. They believe that competition among a larger number of SMEs or cooperation within an SME cluster will create economic and technological innovation. And I mean, that's a no-brainer. The place where you see most of tech innovation coming from is from the small to medium-sized companies. They're much more nimble. They can work quicker on developing these great ideas. So that's where you really see tech innovation coming from. They also recognize the fact that it's a high value added economic sector, and that jobs are created in the SME space much more so than in larger industries. Okay, so UAE really is very much an entrepreneurial society. So when I first came to UAE back in 1989, I was here for only a couple years before I started my first business. And when I went back home and I talked to my friends, they thought I was so brave for taking this step of creating my own company. And thinking about it, I realized it was because the US is such a mature economy and marketplace, it seems really unusual to start your own business. Whereas in UAE, this is a country where it's absolutely normal to start your own company. So where my friends were saying why, I was saying why not. So it really is very much an entrepreneurial society. And they're, even as the country is growing and becoming more mature, they are still embracing their roots as a entrepreneurship type of marketplace. Just a couple weeks ago, the U.S. Department of Commerce and the UAE Ministry of Economy signed an MOU to establish mutual cooperation in the field of innovation and entrepreneurship. So we don't know exactly what that means yet, but I'm sure that there will be all kinds of opportunities that spring up from that MOU to help to help bring about opportunities for American companies in collaboration with UAE companies. And when you look at UAE, it's just a natural place to foster the connection between entrepreneurs and venture capitalists. There's so much money there, and there's so many people, individuals, venture capitalists who are interested in investing in new tech innovation. So it is a natural landing pad to bring those two together. Oh. So the last area of opportunity I wanted to talk about is Expo 2020. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the phrase Expo 2020, but it is the World's Fair, and that probably is more familiar to you. So Dubai won the bid to host Expo 2020, and it's expected to attract 25 million visitors. And for the first time, 70% of the visitors are expected to be coming from overseas. So whereas in 2015 it was in Milan, a much greater percentage of their visitors came from Italy, as opposed to UAE, which is such a small country. Majority of visitors will come from outside. The expo runs from 20th of October 2020 through the 10th of April 2021, which will launch the UAE's Golden Jubilee celebration. The actual campus for the expo is huge, 438 hectares, including a dedicated expo area and a surrounding residential, hospitality, and logistics zone. So they're building kind of like a city within a city and developing all these subsystems within the expo location to be able to serve the expo. The main theme of it is connecting minds and creating the future. And the sub-themes are opportunity, mobility, and sustainability. So one of the other big pushes is to create the campus for Expo 2020 as a sustainable, reusable site. So that is going to be something that they're looking quite. Right now, they've set up all of these meetings where you can come in and learn more about and exchange ideas with the planning committee that's actually executing the expo setup. So they are looking for tech innovations in sustainability and mobility and so forth. So CH2M and Parsons, two American companies, are already engaged in the development of the expo site. So there will be opportunities for subcontractors and supply chain working with those two American companies. So if you have contacts or you have products or services that go hand in hand with what Parsons and CH2M have done in the past, this would be a great area for you to engage. There's opportunity at the expo site and in the country in general. So as you gear up to handle 25 million visitors, it's going to put demands on the entire city. So they are gearing up to support all those visitors by thinking about waste management, the pressure that it'll put on the power grid. Where are you going to house all those people? If you've been to UAE, you will see that the majority of the hotels in UAE are 5-star luxury hotels. Expo 2020 visitors typically will be families and not necessarily extremely wealthy families who may not want a 5-star hotel. So there's a big push now at developing 3-star hotels to accommodate the visitors. So if you look at Expo 2020 and the effect it will have on not just Dubai, but the whole of UAE, there are huge opportunities across the board, virtually every sector. So I guess this part is one of the most important slides we'll talk about is how to engage. I've given you a lot of areas of opportunity for you to consider and to figure out where you're best placed to enter the market. It's likely that you have something to offer. You just need to figure out where you fit and what's the best place and way to approach the market. I will tell you that relationships matter, which means that although they are very price sensitive, relationships are what creates sustainable business. So in general, counter to what the American style, it's not a direct approach. time needs to be invested in developing relationships, and in most situations, finding an established distributor or representative with existing relationships and contacts, an established channel, is the ideal market approach. For example, if you're selling to the government, it's virtually impossible without a local company as a partner, unless it's something that they absolutely need and can't source locally. An example of this specific example is if you go on the DWO website and want to register as a supplier of equipment for that solar panel project, to register or to submit requests to receive tender documents on their large projects. If you apply, they will ask you for the trade license of your local representative or partner. So to work with the government, you virtually have to have a local company that you're working with. Because again, it's relationships. The UAE government, the Dubai government, the Abu Dhabi government want to know that if they buy something, if they engage with a company, that it won't be just a quick sell and then you're gone. They want to know that the company has created a footprint in some way, if not directly, then through a local company. You should be aware that everyone from around the globe is looking at this market, UAE in particular, but all of the GCC countries, because they are developing nations and they have the money to invest in that development. So bear in mind, the US is not the only country where the companies are looking at this region. Yes, UAE does favor and acknowledge the quality of American-made goods and services, but it would be much better to approach them humbly with solutions and demonstrate your understanding of their needs. You don't go to them and try, I always think of that, trying to sell ice water in Alaska. I mean, you really do need to do your homework and figure out what they need, not what you want to sell them. So a example I can give you is we just were at Arab Health in January, where we assisted 25 U.S. companies with appointment setting, and I participated in several panel discussions. So what we found is that there are U.S. hospitals there at Arab Health who are trying to recruit patients to come to the U.S. for treatment. Well, if you were paying attention to the presentation that I just gave, you'll know that the UAE government is pressing to develop in-country treatment. So that's counter to what they want. So with the hospitals that I spoke to during Arab Health, I recommended that they should suggest a knowledge sharing model, that they should offer to bring specialists in country, both to knowledge share, to collaborate, to set up programs, to establish this favorable relationship with specific hospitals, with the Ministry of Health and so forth. Because based on those favorable relationships, when a case actually arises that they can't handle, I mean, maybe it's a very rare form of cancer or something like that. If that arises, it will be those hospitals, American hospitals, that have maintained a relationship, have offered to share models and collaboration with them. It's those hospitals that they're going to turn to when they do need to send their patients for international treatment. So knowing your audience, knowing your customers, investing and learning about the market, these are all areas that if you want to engage in UAE and the broader GCC markets, it's very important. So Channels is hosting a business delegation in May, and the components of that delegation, some of you may be more familiar with the model of a trade mission, but we are calling a business delegation as well. One of the things that we're doing with companies who are interested in coming on the delegation is we're doing a preliminary market evaluation for free, just to clarify what the opportunity, if and what the opportunity may be in our markets, because we are not going to encourage you to come to UAE if we think that you have no potential, or that you would be better served investing your own budget into developing a different market than our own. So we will offer a preliminary market evaluation to help you decide whether UAE is the right market to enter. And then when you come on the delegation, we will have set up individual appointments with pre-vetted partners for you. We spend a lot of time getting to know your company. There's a detailed process in which we actually go out and set up your appointments so that the companies that you're meeting with are well aware of what you do and have demonstrated an interest in working with you, so that by the time you get there, you're already way ahead of the game. And again, when you come to the market, that is the first initial and best way to start this relationship building with potential partners. Part of the business delegation is also group activities. We believe that giving you the opportunity to speak to other American companies, and international companies who are doing business already in the UAE is valuable information for you to have. So we give you an opportunity to network with them. And then I believe that when you come on a business delegation or trade mission, you will learn quite a bit just from the other participants that you're on the mission with, because you're all learning at the same time, and the times that you're together on the bus or in these group activities, you're exchanging information that's helping build all of your knowledge. So if these dates don't work for you, we also host other delegations throughout the year. If the group format is not something that appeals to you, we do have independent market visits, or if you want to come for a trade show. So for instance, this business delegation is taking place at the same time as Auto Mechanica. So if you wanted to be part of the trade mission and you're in the automotive field, we would also be setting up meetings for you with companies that are participating at the trade show. But we do that throughout the year. I believe that when you come to a trade show, there's such huge shows that there's a whole lot more value in having pre-vetted appointments for you already set up, in addition to walking the floor or exhibiting yourself. And then if you're not ready to come to the market or invest that kind of money into exploring the market yet, we do all kinds of projects. So we could do a market assessment, anything along those lines that will help you, or a distributor search, partner search, anything that's going to help you find opportunity. So how to engage with us. Our office in Dubai, we're 9 hours ahead of you. Here are the emails for myself and for Arshi, and that's our office phone number. And then our US office, you can reach Laura, that's her email, or this is her phone number. So Laura has just joined the channel's team. She was originally with the Michigan Economic Development Group, and she is now with us, and we're very happy. So we have someone full-time in the US who can help answer your questions or give you guidance. And then so Arshi's there in Dubai 100% of the time, Laura's in the US 100% of the time, and I kind of ping pong back and forth between the two. But I will tell you, if you want to send an email to me, always, always, always CC Arshi, because I am infamous for too many balls in the air. So if you want an answer, it's always good to CC Arshi, because she keeps me accountable to everybody. So that is basically my presentation. I did realize when I ran through this yesterday in preparation for this webinar that I got all the way to the end of the webinar deck and realized that I didn't include a slide on aerospace, which is a huge market opportunity. There's big opportunities in aerospace, both flying up and flying across. So space exploration is a huge goal for UAE, to get to Mars by 2020. Commercial aerospace opportunities, particularly for SMEs in the maintenance, repair, and overhaul sector. At Dubai South, which is kind of an industrial zone built up on the new airport grounds, I was just talking with the head of Dubai South last week, and he was talking to me about how they're trying to attract SMEs into their free zones there, and that there are great opportunities in MRO. So each one of these industries that I've talked about today really warrant a webinar all of their own, but I wanted to give you an overview of kind of the key sectors and where the opportunity gaps are. And now it's up to you. You need to think about the market, think about what I've said, and where your company might fit in. And again, if you approach the market and these organizations and government entities with solutions to areas that they have already identified as focused importance to them, you're going to be so much better off than just walking in and saying, this is what we sell and do you want to buy it? So thank you for your interest in UAE and spending time with us this morning. I can answer any questions that you might have, but in general, we look forward to working with you. So you can type a question in the panel or not. Well, I don't see any questions, so I just want to say thank you for participating, and reach out to us if we can be of any service. I got into this business because I really like to help, and I love to see positive results from any help that I'm able to give. So if you have just general questions and you want to run those by us by email, if you feel more comfortable asking questions in a private manner, drop us a note, and we're happy to help. But otherwise, I will say thank you very much, and we're happy that you participated today.